and so on and so forth. Bunk. The man was a fabulous biblical scholar. I saw his personal library. I think my library is decent. I've got, a few thousand books, and I've read the most of them. Eugene Seich's was about 20,000 books. His library was so stunning. It took me half the Saturday afternoon just to walk down the aisles back and forth in his extra room that he made to put his library. Just sensational library. I told him I wanted it when he died. We both laughed about it, and I told him I was serious. Unfortunately, I never got it, darn it. I may have to talk to his daughter. Who knows? Anyway, I want to share some information where he extends and improves and increases Raphael Patai's research in his book, The Hebrew Goddess, especially on the significance of the symbolism of the cherubim as a symbol for eternal marriage, both in heaven and on earth. And this is another interesting item. This is another interesting item that I think is very important to understand. These subjects that these scholars, hundreds of them, are coming up with, this council of the gods, this polytheistic pluralism of both male and female gods, and their children, the divine sons of El, and the daughters, the whole family unit, this concept of a sacred marriage, the hieros gamos, symbolized in the embracing cherubim of the Ark of the Covenant in the Holy of Holies. All of these themes coming out, this subject that the Bible has left out so much, and that it's been biased in its editing and in its outlook and viewpoints. These subjects aren't being outdated. They've been around now for several decades in the scholarship, even though the churches haven't caught on to them yet. They are being extended. They are being enlarged. They are being so powerfully supported through the archaeology and the translation of other texts and the connection linguistically between Hebrew and Ugaritic and Canaanitish, Phoenician languages and so on and so forth with religious iconography. It is becoming so extensive right now that William G. Dever says it is a veritable revolution. What's sobering is, for every single book we read, there's 1,000 more on this subject that we haven't read. Now that's sobering. I have news for you. The great reality that we face is our astonishing ignorance. Mine too. Mine and yours. I happen to read ravishingly. I love to read. For every book I read, there's 1,000 more I haven't read. That means our ignorance is 1,000 times greater than our knowledge. And I mean in just this subject, just biblical studies. I'm not talking about medicine. I'm not talking about science. I'm not talking about astronomy with the space telescope. It's staggering. The reality is we are completely ignorant. But the interesting thing is, and I know I'm not celebrating our ignorance, I'm acknowledging it, because that's the fact. If you don't believe me, I'm going to invite you once again, get thine hiney up to a university library and go look into the Bible studies section. How many of you, my viewers right now, how many of you have read the Anchor Bible series? I mean, on the bookshelf, it's longer than you can stretch your arms out. There are dozens of books. Every one of the major biblical scholars, Mitchell Dahoud, E.A. Spicer, P. Kyle McCarter Jr., Raymond Brown, just an astonishing assortment of who's who in biblical scholarship, have written commentaries on all of the books of the Bible. Tens of thousands of pages. I haven't even gotten a chance to read it completely through yet. I own several copies of them, and I've used them for references before. But as far as really trying to understand the context of the Bible, how many of us have read just that one series of books? I would fully, 99.9% of the viewers on YouTube haven't done that. And I'm including myself in on that. So we're completely ignorant of every book we don't read. You haven't read it, so you don't know what the author says. You know what's really shocking? If you was to read one book a week, during the course of that week, how many more books do you think have been published? As a small number, say 50. So for every book you read that week, in a week, another 50 came out that you haven't read. So if you pick one book of the new 50 and read it for a week, in the meantime, there's another 50 books that have been published. Now, your number goes from not having read 49 up to 99 books that you don't know a thing about. So you read another one of those 99 books in a week, and in the meantime, during that week, another 50 are published. You getting the point? And I mean on the Bible. I'm not talking any other subject. And I think I'm conservatively low on my estimate of 50 books a week being published. Whether in Jewish circles or Christian circles or whatever circles. We are tens of thousands of books ignorant from serious scholars. Those who are giving their lives to study this material. That's what we don't know. So I think it's a little pretentious of you to challenge me, oh, if you knew the correct biblical context, it would refute Mormonism. It's also pretentious of me to try to tell you I understand the correct biblical context. I don't. I've read several hundred books on this subject. That doesn't make me a genius. I guarantee there's not a genius bone in my body. It just means that I've read a little more. But for every book I've read, there's thousands I haven't. I'm just as ignorant as you are. So I think a little humility in this process is called for. I think what we have to do is be open-minded enough to at least look. That's what I'm doing with these videos. I'm giving you a look. I guarantee you the cultural context that you think the Bible is all about is not what the Bible is all about. The brand new scholarship is gonna blow your mind, if it hasn't already in my videos. And I'm not doing the subject justice. I can't possibly do the subject justice. I've read a paragraph out of a book here, or a page of a book there, and these books are 300 and 400 and 500 pages thick, chock full of biblical background information that I haven't even read to you yet. And I can't. If I was to read Eugene Seich's book alone to you, it would take hundreds of 10-minute videos. Who's going to bother to watch that? Well, do we want to know the truth about the Bible or not? What are you willing to do to learn the new information coming out because of archaeology alone? There's thousands of texts. What amount of time can you give? Do you really think you can go up into a university library in the Bible studies section alone and read that entire section? Each bookcase has what? 8-9 shelves. Each shelf has what? 150 to 200 books. Let's say 200 books times 9 shelves. 1,800 books in one bookcase. And there are 20 bookcases. In the University of Chicago, I'll bet you there's 2,000 bookcases. That's hundreds of thousands of books, people. You can't physically live long enough to read all about the correct cultural context of the Bible. It's physically impossible. Within the next 70 years, I suspect 99% of the YouTube viewers of my videos right now are going to be dead. If we could live to be the age of Methuselah, we couldn't live long enough to read all the information about the Bible up to today published. That wouldn't count all the hundreds of thousands of books published in the meantime that we wouldn't have read. Are you starting to see the point here? I truly hope so. What I'm about to tell you from Eugene Seich's book is absolutely going to electrify you, especially when you consider it has been seriously book reviewed and peer reviewed by serious Bible scholars, and they like it.